Oh, good. You're here just in time. I want you to try my newest batch of shortbread. I've made a game of it. Whoever eats the piece with the belladonna berry hidden inside wins. Oh, yes. Well, belladonna is deadly nightshade, but I only used one tiny berry. Juliet Capulet ate one and she turned out fine. Well, not in the end, I suppose. Maybe I need to go back to the drawing board on this one. Well, anyway, just sit back and relax while I share some new strange stories with you here on Madame Strangeways. Haunted Barn by Daddyo. It was the end of the school year, 1980. After that weekend, there were only 3 days of school left till summer vacation. My brothers and I had spent the last few weeks making our new barn into our own playhouse. We had a ping pong and a pool table set up, as well as a room with a card table and a dartboard. My friend was staying overnight with me that night to have fun in the new playhouse. Our plan was to stay up all night, going back and forth between games and activities. It was around midnight, and we were playing cards at the card table and talking about anything and everything, when out of nowhere, we hear banging on the wall beside us. We both looked over to the source at the same time. There was a door to the outside that was opening about 3 to 4 inches and slamming over and over. It was loud and kept going for almost a minute. When it stopped, my friend and I looked at each other with a look of terror on our faces. We got up and ran for the door like it was a race to see who could get out of there the fastest. We went into the house to find that everyone was sitting in the living room watching Saturday Night Live. My mom and stepdad swore that no one had gone outside. I was trying to debunk what had just happened as a prank by one of my brothers. When that didn't work out, I grabbed a flashlight and we went back out to see what was outside the door. I thought we might find tracks or some evidence that someone was out there. When we got to the outside of the door, we noticed a concrete post leaning against it, holding it shut. I had forgotten about that at the time. It wasn't possible for that door to be opened more than an inch. My heart pounded in my chest after seeing this and realizing it couldn't have been done by someone outside pranking us. My friend and I both ran back to the house as fast as we could, and he called his mom to come pick him up. He was too scared to stay the rest of the night. That barn was the most terrifying and active place I ever experienced in my life. One of my older brother's friends was hit on the side of his head by a brick that flew out of nowhere at one of his barn parties. Fortunately, the guy was not seriously injured, but he never came back to one of my brother's barn parties after that. This particular event of the door slamming was truly scary, but the absolute most terrifying event that ever happened to me was in that barn, and I will post that story another time. Daddyo, I think the scariest part of your story for maybe not a majority of the listeners, but for a portion of the listeners, is that there were no video games in your playhouse that y'all were building because it was the early 80s. So for anyone listening that didn't know an analog childhood, Nintendo, the first Nintendo, the NES, was not released until 1985. And Atari, like with Pong, I don't think that was until 1977. I say I don't think that was until as if I did not fact check this like 30 seconds ago. So, in 1980 or 1981, there were not video games in this playhouse. So spooky, no video games. It does kind of sound fun. Just card games and darts and soda pop and the radio. I don't know, sounds really cool. And also the perfect setting for a very spooky tale. So how did it slam? How did it open enough to slam over and over and over, and where both you and your friend witnessed it? I mean, he was scared enough that he went home, had his mom pick him up. Now listen, I am not going to judge anybody for doing that, because I was always the one calling my mom to come pick me up. Mom, come pick me up. I don't want to spend the night. And there weren't even ghosts. It was just me and my unchecked, undiagnosed anxiety being scared at a sleepover. I mean, maybe we were dabbling in Ouija boards and seances, probably, but still scared. We didn't see ghosts, though, so I can't blame your friend. Unfortunately, you live there, so you couldn't call your mom to come pick you up, because where is she going to take you? Super spooky, especially that the barn was a hot spot. That's even spookier. Messed up that a ghost is throwing bricks at people's heads. That's like, I mean, that ghost is out for blood. That ghost is trying to give, at minimum, a concussion. At minimum. So, at least it wasn't throwing bricks at you. Maybe it just wanted to be invited. Maybe it just wanted to be included. So stay tuned for the next episode, where I will be sharing Daddyo's next story about the haunted barn. Spooky Experience in a Motel in Washington State by Anonymous. Sorry, this'll be a long one. There's a TLDR at the end. For starters, this experience took place way back in 2015. I was talking to a friend of mine recently and mentioned this story, and he convinced me to post this here. I don't use Reddit and rarely ever talk about this, so I'm by no means seeking any sort of attention or points. Chances are I probably won't even see any replies or anything. I just wanted to tell my story. Also note, I've had sleep paralysis before, and this was not that. I was still able to move and grab my phone. In 2015, I was a college student outside of Seattle, Washington. A few friends of mine wanted to go on a spring break trip to Ocean Shores, a small town on the coast of Washington State. Because we were broke college kids at the time, we decided to book the cheapest place in town, a small motel called Westerly Motel. We were a party of 5 people, 3 guys including me, and 2 girls. We were all just friends and bros, so we didn't care about everybody sharing the same room. Arriving at the Westerly Motel, everything was fine. The place had a living room, bathroom, and small bedroom. It was pretty small overall, but hey, we got what we paid for. It was agreed that the 2 girls would get the bedroom and us 3 guys would sleep in the living room area. We were there for 3 nights total. The trip itself was fine. There wasn't much to do in Ocean Shores. Our original plan was to see the ocean and beach, but when we got there, it had all this really smelly and gross stuff washed up ashore. A local told us it was actually fish or whale carcasses. I have no idea how legit that was, but the stuff was definitely not seaweed, and it smelled horrible. The first 2 nights were completely normal. We all played board games and drank alcohol. It wasn't until the last night that my experience happened. My 2 male friends slept on the couch and chair, no idea how he was even able to sleep, and I was the only person sleeping on the floor. At around 4 a.m., I woke up. I didn't physically get up, but just opened my eyes. I remember reaching my arm over to grab my phone, seeing the time and thinking, fuck, I wish it was sunrise already. Because the atmosphere was super spooky. It's hard to describe. The air felt stuffy and cold. I know this phrase gets overused, but it literally felt like someone was watching me. The closest thing I can compare it to is actually a video game about ghosts called Fatal Frame 2. Throughout the game, there are certain rooms that have a high-pitched sound, indicating there's something in there for you to interact with. It gives you a sense of something is here. I know that's a weird comparison, but it gives the most accurate feeling I've ever felt to that night in the motel room. I tried going back to sleep, but felt so paranoid and scared that I couldn't. I remember my feet were actually shaking because I was so scared. I tried coughing a little to signal to my buddies on the couch, like, hey, are you guys awake? But no response. The weird thing was that I somehow could just instinctively tell that the source of all this fear was coming from the bathroom. I was closest to the bathroom because I slept on the ground. Like, I could just feel that something was not right about the bathroom, and it scared the crap out of me, even though I couldn't see anything. It also felt dangerous to move, like the universe was saying, don't get up, don't move, just go back to sleep. You're not supposed to be awake right now. That's literally what it felt like. Thankfully, after about 15 minutes or so, I was able to fall asleep. The next morning, everything was pretty much normal. As my friend and I were checking out of the motel, I wanted to ask the front desk, hey, is this place haunted or something? But chose not to. On the 3 to 4 hour drive back to Seattle, I casually said to my friends, hey, were you guys awake this morning? And to my surprise, my friend actually said something like, at 4 or 5 a.m.? I said, yes. Then my friend said, yes. Weirdly enough, it got quiet, and we both just knew to leave the conversation at that. It was pretty awkward, but that was literally it. I could tell that he also experienced what I felt at 4 a.m., and just like me, he didn't want to talk about it. It felt sort of cursed to talk about it, honestly. That was the end of that experience. But fast forward to 2020 during COVID, I was bored and stuck at home, and that Ocean Shores trip came back to mind. I was curious and just Googled Ocean Shores Westerly Motel, and the first thing that came up was actually a Como 4 News article written in 2014. The article states that in 2014, at that exact motel we stayed at, there was a man who locked himself in the bathroom in a standoff against police. He started a fire and died of smoke inhalation in the bathroom before being taken to the hospital or something. You can find the article itself if you just Google KOMO News Westerly Motel. When I read that, it scared the hell out of me because I remembered that night and I remember sensing something in that bathroom. I would definitely consider myself a skeptic, but that night felt very supernatural. Like you could just feel it in the air that this is not normal. Before that, I used to snicker at anyone saying they felt watched, but now I get it. I was looking at reviews of Westerly Motel and was secretly hoping someone else had a similar experience, but alas, nothing. But yeah, just wanted to share this story. The motel is actually still around, so if by chance anybody else experienced something like this, just know that you're not alone. TLDR. Went on a trip with college friends to a crappy motel. On the third night, felt something supernatural coming from the bathroom. Found out many years later that a crazy guy died in that bathroom in a standoff against police 1 year prior to my trip there. Article can be found if you Google KOMO News Westerly Motel. Anonymous, how thoughtful of you to sleep on the floor, to be the one person having to sleep on the floor. I remember those days, youth, where you would just sleep anywhere, on any surface, just share a room with a handful of other people and sleep on the floor. Sure, why not? It's genuinely so compelling that you felt the energy coming from the bathroom and then found out how many years later, 5 years later, that the year before you stayed there, what happened in a bathroom at the motel. Now, was it that bathroom? I guess it's possible. It's probably statistically more likely that it was not that particular motel room bathroom. However, I am not good at statistics, never took that class. So maybe it's not more statistically likely. Unless you are just completely misremembering the motel and you happen to look up a similarly named motel and then that motel had it. But even that's a crazy coincidence. I don't know how to explain that other than, did you look at the reviews prior to going and then you forgot that you saw that, or maybe somebody mentioned it in passing in the news and your brain just kind of held on to that information. Okay, maybe, or maybe you picked up on some crazy, bad, negative energy that was coming out of that bathroom. I mean, someone else picked up on it too. It wasn't just you. What if you put a review on the motel and you can say, hey, I stayed there in 2015 and I stayed in this room and I felt a malevolent presence in the room. If anyone else has felt anything like this in this room at the motel, email me and then use some anonymous email address that's not tied to your actual name. And then, I don't know, see if anybody bites. I'd be really interested to hear if anybody emails you. I guess I could do the same thing and pretend that I'm you and I could leave the review. And then the emails would come to me. And then I would know immediately, I might be onto something there. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can feel afraid and not be in danger. Please remember to like and subscribe. It means a lot. Until next time.